Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Mars, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Um, it's not to say that we have a different show, that somehow we're going out of the norm or the framework, the production schedule that we normally have. I'd like to give acknowledgement to fellow creatives. Today we'll be talking about Kobe Bean Bryant, and this is the second anniversary of his death. You know, brothers and sisters, it's interesting that I realized as I began to prepare, if you will, for this production. It's like nothing really changed. In a weird way, Kobe prepared us for facts, and the facts are who we want to see ourselves as, how we push ourselves, and how we motivate ourselves. If you start to think about Kobe's 10 rules, get better every day, work on your weaknesses, prove them wrong, execute what you practice, learn from greatness, learn from wins and losses, practice mindfulness, be ambitious, believe in your team, and the last one, of course, my favorite is learn storytelling. Now, I think it's clear here, brothers and sisters, that a process was laid. A lot of people call it the Mamba Mentality. But the beauty of it is that it only works if you personalize it. If you make it somehow a piece of ownership that's going to brand and forge a lot of what you do, particularly for us creators moving forward. I am not afraid to say that during this time, brothers and sisters, there has been a lot of need for the Mamba mentality. We've had to reframe who we are as individuals, as society, and really people overall, politics and all those things. But if you look at those same core things that Kobe Bryant spoke about, it's really interesting. In the opening, you saw a picture of the people who were with him, that passed with him in the plane. We pray Allah guide those souls and give them the highest levels of paradise, brothers and sisters. But it's important that the people that are in that picture, they shared the same passion as Kobe Bryant. And Kobe Bryant shared the same passion as them. In a very, very clear way, we're going to talk about Kobe Bryant, but we're not going to grieve Kobe Bryant. We're going to explore some aspects of Kobe Bryant that I hope can be beneficial to us and beneficial to our families and our communities all around. The Mamba mentality lives. Don't be fooled. He fooled us because he made us believe it was so much about basketball when in reality it was about life and how we see ourselves. And so for this show, we're going to focus on how he, in a very loving and generous way, whether he knew it or not, guided us to the fact that, yes, we don't have to be professional athletes. We don't have to be elite athletes or basketball players. You don't have to be rich or poor. But you got to have a drive, brothers and sisters. And what's important is that drive is the thing that makes us better. Rule number one, Kobe's rules: get better every day. Now, I want you guys to stick around, because we have a great shows lined up for you. I want to give a shout out to some comedians. We had some loss of life. Regina King lost her son. Michael Malden lost his son. We lost Louis Anderson, comedian. And, these are all creatives in their own space. We have a lot of people that passed. But today, brothers and sisters, I want to talk about somebody who passed away, but he left us something that will undoubtedly stay with us the rest of our life. All right, let's tune in, brothers and sisters. This is the Shout Out Show, talking about Kobe Bean Bryant. Be back in a minute. Let's roll.
We just need help.
Imagine if there wasn't an olive branch. Muslim Family Service at your command. The people who help people have to say, we need your donations, don't delay. We all have struggles from time to time, but leaders dedicated is what you find. Before another person sheds a tear, support Olive Branch, you don't have to fear. Olive Branch Muslim Family Services. Action you can see, compassion you can feel. Sing it with me. Ooh. Ooh. All right. I love that guy. All right. I just had to say that. I love that guy. So, brothers and sisters, I want to make sure that I give proper acknowledgement to the people that come on and make this platform. I say, yes, I'm the host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. But this was a show without the people that come on. I mean, the soldiers, the people who, in their own way, exhibit what we call that Mamba Mentality. They're here every day dedicated, brothers and sisters. And it's not just to see the show. When they come to the show, they have an expectation. And that expectation is what drives my quest for excellence for whatever this is going to be with the Shout Out Show now and moving forward. So let me go ahead and get into that space and give some shout outs and salutations to our esteemed, if you will, esteemed followers of the Shout Out Show. Let's go ahead and get them in. We got Sister Reed. She said, hey, hello family, it's Happy Hump Day. Yes, it is Happy Hump Day, Sister Reed. We appreciate you joining us. Peace and blessing to you, your family, and shout out to Derek. It's getting pretty close out there. The Super Bowl is right around the corner, and we want to give a shout out also to your son Juwan. We appreciate all your contributions to the show. Sister Reed, thank you so much. Next up, and we got Mama Son, better known as Mary Ma. She's saying, what'd she say? Have a great day, SOS family. Yes, Mom, we want you to have a great day too. Had a wonderful conversation with you earlier today. And we'll give a shout out in advance to Miss Eleanor. She's got a birthday upcoming. She will finally be 21 and legally able to go into the bars. There you go. Tell her I told that. But we want to make sure we give you a shout out, Mama Son. You've been giving me support from out the womb. Let's say out of the womb. I showed up and I just been here grinding. So if I don't tell you I appreciate you enough, it's because I'm slipping on my game. And I just want to get better every day. And thank you for reminding me the importance of getting better every day. All right. Thank you so much. Next up, we got my little brother JT, better known as Johnny L. Thomas, but we call him JT here on the show. What's going on, little brother? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Man, I appreciate you coming on the show always. And you know, sometimes when you do these shows, you don't understand how people kind of hold you up and they reach out after the show and they bring ideas to you. And sometimes you do the ideas if it's feasible. Sometimes you don't. But it's just the idea that people feel free enough creatively to come and tell me what they think about a show. Even if it's a bad show, people come and say, hey, you could have done this different. And I just want people who do come and give me their suggestions. I just want you to know they don't fall on deaf ears. Sometimes I can't do them that week because I have a certain plan for the week, but you'll notice sometimes that your ideas will filter into a show, and we appreciate it. So, JT, appreciate you, homie. Thank you so much. Next up, what is Mark Candidate doing? Man, you trying to get a job on my show, brother? I'm just messing with you. Much love to you and the Candidate family. You know, I tell people about you all the time, Mark. And it's hard to kind of go back and say where I met Mark, because when you have really good friends, it's hard to figure out exactly where you met them. But it's really, really easy to pinpoint why they're important to you, or why they're important to your family. Mark is one of those people, man, a long-time supporter of your brother Preacher Mars, going way, way back. I remember when Mark took me into what was then XM Radio, trying to get me a show on XM Radio. We met on New York Avenue, and that was advocacy way back when. Who knew XM was going to be what it is now, Mark? But I appreciate you, man. Much love for your support. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you and your family. All right, next up, my main man, Altaf Rashid, our Canadian ambassador to the show. Make sure the quality of the show is what? Good on this side of the border and that side of the border, better known affectionately as Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, always on the show, always on time. Altaf, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The best of the rest of the day to you, my dear brother. Thank you so much. Next up, We got Sister Ika coming all the way from Depok, Indonesia. What's going on, Sister Ika, who's joining us on the early side of the game? Because we know that you were tired and you just got off that rug. But God bless you for tuning in, man. We appreciate you. And again, peace and blessings to you and your family. Sister Ika, everybody. Next up, my main man, Eric Carter. Again, that's Eric Carter. Walaikum assalam wa barakatuh. Eric, man, we appreciate your presence, man. And, when you're not here, I just want you to know that we are sending you greetings and salutations and best wishes to you and your family, brother. So when you're here, you're going to hear it from us. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Next up, we got our consultant producer, Sister Satana Whitfield. Working hard, brothers and sisters. Work hard on the 1 and 2s and trying to make sure that we get this thing right for you. If you notice, we're trying to tighten this program up just a little bit, and I am excited. It's fun to talk about the program on this day where we're talking about Kobe Bryant and the Mamba Mentality, because one of the things I love is, work on your weaknesses. Work on your weaknesses. That gets me thrilled, brothers and sisters. And he had something else. It's one in his 10 rules, but I love this thing. It says, be productive early. Be productive early. Learning what works for you early in the process is gold, brothers and sisters. So we want to make sure we do that. So, Sister Satana, thank you so much. So let me frame a Kobe Bryant story. A small one. Kobe Bryant started a company called Kobe Inc. And Kobe Inc. was something that he started while he was still in his playing years. The thing about Kobe Inc. was that he had expressly formed this company to be able to secure information, secure talent for what would be his transition after we finish playing professional basketball. Now, we all work on our transitions. We all do. We all have our ups and downs and transitions, how we go from one place to one. But it's interesting to know that at his level, and at his level, and I want to say stature of prestige in basketball and business, what was interesting was he essentially started a company and he brought people in that treated him, for the most part, like an intern. They were there specifically for him to learn. Not to run his company, but they were there for him to learn. For him to be able to have conversations with people who were very esteemed in their particular fields. It was interesting that he looked for cracks in his game. He looked for weak points in his game, whether it was storytelling, whether it was producing, whether it was writing. He looked for weak points in his game. One of his other things is, learn from greatness. Learn from greatness. And one of the things about learning from greatness is you're automatically going to humble yourself, because 9 times out of 10 you're not great. You might be good, but you're looking for something above you. That, brothers and sisters, is something that should be celebrated, but it also separates us away from things that we see today. One of the sad parts about Kobe Bryant, and I would say this on a personal level, is we literally was sitting around wondering and sat in anticipation about what is he going to do next. When he won his Oscar, we were like, we saw that, but we were like, what are you going to do next? Creatives sat around. We would literally have talks on WhatsApp groups and things like that, quietly talking about Kobe Bryant. We talked about all the other creatives, but we said, what about this guy? Because we felt threatened in a very good way. We felt like somebody was going to bring the game to us and push us a little bit. Oftentimes, we don't appreciate that. Oftentimes we look at it as competition. I've said this before, and I said it to a young man who wanted to be a comedian. And he said, well, what is it that you're looking for in comedy and business? I said, well, in business, I'm looking to expand myself, much like we talk about the Mamba Mentality. He says, yeah. But what about competition? And I told him, I said, my creative space is about a blue ocean. I have to find new challenges. And when I find new challenges, essentially what I'm doing is not introducing unnecessary competition into my new challenges. This is me. He said, what does it mean? He said, well, if I'm doing it right, my job is not to worry about you as competition. My job is to make you irrelevant. That was Kobe Bryant. in the league for quite a number of years, and he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way a lot of times. But what you can't deny is that he was consistent. What you can't deny is he claimed the process. And if you were willing to humble yourself, like he had humbled himself over and over and over and over again throughout the process of his career on the court, off the court, what you'll find is this is a guy that had some things that were different. One of the things that I love about Kobe Bryant is a spot he talked about, that thing about mindfulness. He had this piece about sleep. We're going to play it and then we're going to come back. Satana, can you roll that, please?
Let's get to it. Lesson 1, you get an additional 30 minutes of sleep a night. Take it as a challenge. Try to find that space, quiet your mind, and get your 30 minutes of sleep. And you'll see it makes a really, really big difference. My sleep habits were horrendous, to say the least. I mean, I've always had a hard time sleeping. You know, I couldn't figure out how to shut my brain off. So what made the light bulb come on is that I went out there and played a game, and I played like crap. And I was like, why am I playing like crap? Because I've been practicing these same moves over and over and over. But yet, I couldn't execute them properly. I was feeling sluggish, I was feeling lethargic, and I knew it wasn't because of my training, because I had trained obsessively. So then I started looking at other things. And that's when I came to the realization that, hey, Kobe, you're not 21 years old anymore, buddy. Like, maybe the fact that you're sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night, maybe that has something to do with the fact that you're playing like crap. And that's when I started really evaluating those things. And I'd say lesson 2 would be just 5 minutes of quiet time, 5 minutes for you to be mindful and to just sit and find that inner voice and just kind of listen to the self. And preferably would be in the morning as you start your day. I meditate every day. And I do it in the mornings, and I do it for about 10 to 15 minutes. And I think it's important because it sets me up for the rest of the day. You know, it helps me. It's like having an anchor. You know, if I don't do it, I feel like I'm constantly chasing the day, as opposed to being able to be controlled and dictate the day. Not that you're, calling the shots on what comes forward, but the fact that I am set and ready for whatever may come my way. You know, I have a calmness about whatever comes my way and a poise. And that comes from starting the morning off with meditation. For me,
part of that whole thing about sleep, brothers and sisters, and we're going to be coming back here briefly, is just the idea that you have a certain type of clarity that said, this is a weakness. This is a weakness. And just once you identify the weakness, is just a classic thing that you can take that weakness and make it something not just stronger, but even more diverse in being able to effectuate change in other parts of your life. We'll be right back after these messages. Hey babies, welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just gotta hear don't get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.
All right, we're back. Thank you for that message from Convenient Urgent Care. Listen, and if you really, really want to examine the core of a person, it's interesting to see how people act and carry themselves when they have controversy or they have trials and tribulations. One of the things that I remember most about Kobe Bryant is the situation we had. He had some problems. He had some legal problems. And it's easy to make a judgment about somebody in that situation. But I think it requires patience to see what that process is going to be. That we're not judging so quickly, but beginning to understand that people, number one, make mistakes. And the judge of a man or woman is, how do you frame success for yourself and others around that mistake? I think the other thing is learning from your weaknesses. There's a thing where you're humble and then when you're humbled. I've watched Kobe Bryant, and I can only say this for a few basketball players. I watched them the entirety of their career, from high school all the way to the pros to retirement, and I'm at that age now where I start talking to other kids about, oh, you should have seen so-and-so play back in the day and things like that. What I can appreciate and admire is people who make mistakes, but they have the ethic to talk about their mistakes in a way where they say, I don't want other people to make the same mistake. I don't want other people to be in the situation I am in. The latter part of Kobe Bryant's life was literally reaching out to people, informing them of their possibilities and potential. The Mamba Mentality is, in one regard, it is about being self-analyzing, self-actualization. But it's also about being self-reflecting. That people see an example, and whether they talk to you or not, whether they engage with you or not, you've presented something that says there's a possibility I can do, or I can take advantage of some of the things that I'm seeing. Some of the processes, some of the ideas, some of the thoughts. That this relationship, though I may not meet you directly, is, I want to say, highly, highly valuable and highly, highly transformative. So I'm going to run a little bit of this interview. Now, this is one of those sports shows. But he's very forthright about a situation that he had. And I just want you to catch the gist of it. And we're going to come back and we're going to do the wrap for the show. So, Satana, if you don't mind, if you could roll that video, I would appreciate it. Cool.
I did an episode with Ray Lewis and ended up getting into talking to him about what happened to him, where, here's a guy, everything going in the right direction, ends up being charged with murder. Charges obviously, later dismissed, but he really credits that part of his life with having gone through that, with really having a positive impact on him moving forward and just having made him a better individual in the long term. It's been nearly a decade now since, what you went through in Eagle with sexual assault. Charges obviously similar to Lewis, dismissed. To what extent do you think having gone through that, it had a positive impact on you and really made you better long term?
Well, I think it's the challenge is who you are as a person. To have to go through something like that, with not only individually but as a family, and then for the organization, the Lakers organization, my teammates. It was extremely difficult, and you kind of had to do some soul searching, because you're fighting numerous battles at the same time, and you're just kind of trying to figure your way through all of this mess. And the only thing that you can do is just put one foot in front of the other and just continue to move forward. And there's nothing else you can do. There's times where it just seems like days are just endless. This is never going to end. This feeling, this dark time is just never going to be over. And I think once you go through something like that, you can't help but be different. You can't help but have a better sense of who you are. And it's, yeah, I mean, Ray and I have had conversations about that. He's
Really?
He's a good friend of mine, and we've had those type of conversations of going through things like that. And a lot of times, other players can't relate to that sort of stuff, to that type of pressure. That's real pressure. That's life pressure. It's not hitting the game-winning shot. If you make it, you win. If you miss it, you lose. That's not pressure.
What did you and Ray speak about when you had
Exactly that about his time and what he went through, and then how he was able to come out of it, and how it made him more determined. And for me, it was much the same.
I mean, with the court case, that was really the first time in your life where you didn't have control over your fate.
Right.
What was that experience like?
Well, you have to give it up. You have to give it up. You have to release yourself, and just kind of, let things be. And I think that helps your maturity a lot when you try not to control the situation. This is not a basketball game where I have, a lot of control on the outcome. You really just got to let it go. And I think to do that, you instantly have to mature, and to be able to put yourself in that emotional space where you can trust the process.
What do you think you learned from the whole experience?
I mean, it's a lot that I've learned through that experience, and a lot of things specifically that I went through during that process that I wish I could dive into, but it's just, I think as a person, it just really teaches you how to let go and how to trust and not try to control everything. And I think that decreases your stress levels tenfold when you're not worrying about the next moment. You're not worrying about what this person may say. You're not worrying about what this outcome may be.
Letting it go. In his space, that idea of letting it go is interesting, because it's really talking about you have to humble yourself. That mindfulness that he talks about is not just the mindfulness for your problems or your issues, your wins, or your losses, your failures, your triumphs. It's literally the fact that we don't control things. That more so we have to deal with the idea that there's an idiom about being prepared. There's an idiom about being aware of our surroundings. Things we say, things we do, how we speak to people, how we relate. He spoke about his creativity one time, and somebody asked him if he was really, are you really that creative? And he said something in a very, really, very interesting way. He informed the reporter that, in case you didn't know, he said he wrote 90% of his Nike commercials. 90% of his Nike commercials. He had a sports drink, still does, called Body Armor. He wrote Body Armor. He actually bought the product with the anticipation of being able to write and do the marketing. Now, he's 100% right. That life doesn't work in a way where you can control every aspect of it. But if you go back to what he said about sleep, which was about anchoring yourself in the situation whereby you could be the best you at that point in time, that's priceless information, brothers and sisters. Something that we cannot overlook. And I would suggest in our own lives that we establish our own pathology for our own Mamba madness, whether it's Mama madness or Madness or Satana madness. That's what we have to look at. All right, brothers and sisters, that's our show. So I want to go ahead and give a shout out for our sponsors. I want to give a shout out to BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. You can call 202-508-3780. Again, that's 202-508-3780. We'll give a shout out to Islamic Bayan Islamic Graduate School. And you can go to bayanonline.org. Again, that's bayanonline.org. And get that information. They have a wonderful program, Islamic Studies, Islamic Education, chaplaincy program. You got to go there and check it out. Also, we're going to give a shout out to our newest family member. That would be UsHub TV. Again, that's UsHub TV. Go and check them out. That is ushub.tv. Doing big things. And of course, we want to give a shout out to our big sponsor, of course, Convenient Urgent Care in the city of Houston with 3 locations in Cypress, Pasadena, and Houston on Parker Road. Brothers and sisters, it's our show. Shout out to everybody who tuned in. Big shout out to the Kobe Bryant family and those who's lives were lost, and the families, those who were lost on that plane, and those who just lost, in return to Allah, we wish you the best, okay? That's our show for today. Check you soon. Bye-bye now. Well, family, that's it for our show today. One of the reasons I felt compelled to make this video, because I noticed when an event is over, Muslims don't know when to leave. So if you're sitting there in front of your television going, that was fun, that was enjoyable, what do I do now? This is me telling you to leave. You know why? Because the show is over. I already left. I taped this before I made it. So you have permission to leave. And you also have permission to come back. To the Shout Out Show, we are Monday through Thursday. Again, that's 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Central, and of course on the West Coast, 3 o'clock. So we want to thank you for coming on the show, my brothers and sisters. And guess what? This is yet another exercise for you to leave, because I'm out of here. Later.